morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
We've got Franklin on one side, Brentwood on there. No.
Charles.
Good morning. This is Policy Talks. I'm Dave Crouch. This is presented by the Williamson Chamber, better known as Williamson Inc., every month, most every month. And we're delighted to have a beautiful day for this, but also a bright-eyed audience here at Columbia State Community College this morning. We have I think, a very interesting show planned this morning, and our guest this morning, Mr. Nelson Andrews, and I'll introduce him more appropriately here in a minute. But I do want to thank WCTV crew for getting us live on WCTV by YouTube TV and various other ways. We'll also have Tom Lawrence has us on WAKM. And I'm going to have to read my notes to stay on top.
You can read those notes?
I can, believe it or not. But Nelson is the mayor of the city of Brentwood and been a friend of this show for many years. He's been here several times. And Nelson, we're glad to have you to kind of give us the rundown on what's different about Brentwood. And so we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I believe your day job is running a bunch of dealerships, automotive dealerships. Andrews Cadillac, I think, maybe a Land Rover. And is it Jaguar or Jaguar? How do you say that in Tennessee?
All right, so it is Jag-U-R. And so, okay. and it's funny, I had to explain to my kids because, they're like, well, this is Jaguars, Dad. And so, well, that's the football team, but if it's your company, you can choose how it's said. I mean, it's not the Boston Celtics, right? So they say it's Jaguar, so that's what it is for the car company.
Okay, great. And then I think you not only have operations here in Brentwood, but also maybe Mount Juliet.
We are, yeah. So we have Andrews Cadillac Brentwood, which is our first local company. Been there since '79. Then Land Rover Nashville and Jaguar Nashville, right next to it here in Brentwood. Not here in Brentwood, I guess. I'm over the border. But it's and then we just opened up Andrews Cadillac Mount Juliet 2 years ago, which has been fantastic.
So you didn't have enough to do, so you ran for commissioner, who then appointed you as mayor.
Yeah, for a long time, and I think Charles has heard the story a bunch. I used to say I was a car dealer with a side gig as a commissioner. As of May, I feel like I'm a mayor with a side gig as a car dealer. It's
how you do it.
Well, it's really a lot of fun, and it's I have to say I'd encourage anybody that's thinking about getting involved in public service to go ahead and do it. Because I think I've learned more in my time on the commission than I have since graduate school, and maybe more than that. And I've lived in Brentwood for a while. Our family came here in 1979, and still there's so much to learn, and there's so much that goes on, and so much we can do. So it's been one of the best things I've ever done. Really encourage people to get involved and do that sort of stuff.
And speaking of not having enough to do, you've got 4 kids.
We do.
And
we've got 3 of them off the payroll, so we're making progress.
Some of them played athletics. I think Trevor, pretty good at it.
Well, so of the 4 kids, all 4 played varsity for Ravenwood. Trevor's a little overcommitted, ended up running through and playing some football at the University of Michigan, which was a lot of fun. I got to tell you, I can't believe as a Vanderbilt guy, which has also gotten to be a whole lot of fun to get to go and be part of that whole run.
Right.
And now having mixed feelings, seeing the rankings, or I think Vanderbilt is like a tick over Michigan in the ranking right now. I'm not always sure how I feel about that, but it's
Brady's probably okay with that.
All right,
there he is, and well, that's exciting. And to have all of that stuff in your life, you're as laid back as anybody I know. I don't know how you do it, but just amazing that you can juggle all that stuff and seem to do a pretty good job at it.
I think I've made the comment a number of times. I think some of that is just trying to make peace with the balls that you have to drop, because you try to do all the things, but it is just an exercise in trying to figure out how to prioritize what's going on and try to get try to solve problems in the right order. And sometimes if you solve problems in the right order, some of the other problems go away in the meantime. So so it seems to work okay.
Works out okay. Um, Now, you've been an alderman, it's commissioner in Brentwood, the only town in Williamson County that has a or a city commission type government. But, and when did you say you first became a commissioner?
So I was first elected to the commission in 2019, just in time for COVID. So we had almost a year, really about 9 months, sort of a more normal operations. Then we had the experience of going through, something. It was really a great lesson. My friend Don Robinson mentioned to me when I was first running for the commission that what you run on isn't necessarily what you get to work on. And he's right. I had no idea what we're going to work on in 2020, 21, that thereabouts. But it was an incredible experience. And then coming through, in Brentwood, it's what we call the week mayor format. So we have 7 commissioners, and after each election, the commission elects somebody to help set the agenda, set the tone, run the meetings, and represent Brentwood outside of Brentwood at stuff like this. And so that's the mayor job. So you don't run for mayor specifically. I am really flattered. I think I'm the first Brentwood mayor in a long time to be elected unanimously by the commission. So it was a great vote of confidence. I really appreciated the commission for that. And tell you, like anything, I don't know if I really anticipated all of what would go on. I will tell you, I had maybe the greatest mayor call ever. And it's interesting because you get all kinds of phone calls. I don't think I appreciated how much more often the phone would ring as a mayor than as a commissioner. But I had a call earlier this week from a super sweet older lady, and she called him. She's like, "Is this the mayor's office?" And she called me on my cell phone. I was like, "Well, I suppose this is the mayor." But it's well, my daughter is having her first baby, and I'm coming into town to visit, and I don't want to bother her staying in their house, but I want to stay in Brentwood. And do you have any good hotels? And so I looked it up online. She wasn't really comfortable with the internet. And I said, well, we have this really nice, the Hilton Suites is right around Moreland Mansion, and or not the Hilton Suites, the Hilton Garden Inn. And but I have to say I've never actually stayed in a hotel in Brentwood. so we kind of looked it up together. We gave her quite a few options. I think she liked the Hilton Garden, and it was great. It's so much more fun than people that are anxious about one thing or another, because you do get a fair number of phone calls. They're just people that are anxious about things. And sometimes, I had a call earlier this summer about somebody whose child was overseas in Israel when a lot of things were going on. And as Brentwood mayor, I was a little bit of a loss how to really impact that. I was hoping they were in contact with the embassy, over in Israel. But we were able to get them in touch with the Haggerty team, who did have good contacts with the State Department. So you realize a lot of what you do as mayor is you try to connect the dots and you try to connect the lines of communication. That's right, yeah.
Well, now, I'm not sure whether all the leadership in the city heard about this new regime coming into office and were scared and resigned, or how this worked out. But you've had almost an entire turnover in the leadership at the city hall, the finance office, the fire chief, the public works, and not too long before that, the police chief. But tell us.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the way I would have spun that.
Well, I like to spin it so you have to explain. So.
Yeah, well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. So what Dave's getting at is that we did hire Jason Gage. So Kirk Bednar, after a lot of years in the hot seat, he had over 26 years at Brentwood, over a decade as city manager, and did a fantastic job. And we're lucky enough to have only had 2 city managers, in the past, well, I think over 30 years. Mike Walker and Kirk Bednar, who are a tough act to follow.
Right.
But I think probably the best thing our previous commission did was get Jason Gage hired as our new city manager. And so he came on in, has really fit in well with the team, and very excited about Jason. And then Karen Harper, who is here. Karen's sitting right here. So she is our director of finance for the city of Brentwood, and she also has quite a few years of Brentwood and a lot of years in the hot seat as our director. But she has chosen to retire, well deserved, hard earned. But we were able to hire Tanya Travis to come in as our new director of finance. Came in from Spring Hill, so local person. Brian Collins, our new fire chief. So Brian Goss told us a while ago he was going to retire as fire chief, and it was a planned succession. So both with Brian Collins and also Chief Colvin, you know, we're really deliberate in public safety about having a succession plan and a really deliberate promotion from within program to try to develop leaders and try to have a smooth transition. So getting Chief Colvin in as our chief of police, you know, and frankly, we haven't had many of those either, you know. Chief Hughes, of course, moved over to the sheriff's department after leaving Brentwood. You know, then we had Chief Hickey that came in, had been with the department for decades. I mean, literally, so he followed Jeff Hughes. Chief Hickey did a great job, but retired after, 30 plus years with the department. And then Chief Colvin was set right there to step in and is doing a fantastic job. And also Dale Biggerstaff, who is our Assistant Director of Public Works, has stepped up and is now our Director of Public Works. So, for the most part, I think we're doing a good job, and something I'm really proud of, and I hope we continue to focus on, is developing a pipeline of talent within the city so that we have the opportunity for people to keep moving, up and through, and to have great local knowledge, to have great institutional knowledge, but to keep building that structure inside our city. I think it's really important.
That's one thing that the city of Brentwood is noted for around here is a lack of drama, for the most part. And
well, we're trying to be really boring whenever we can.
And I look back at the agenda on some of your commission meetings, and it's all consent agenda stuff. I mean, very boring. And are you going to keep it that way? Is that the way it is all the time? Or?
Well, I mean, I frankly, I wouldn't say I seek out being uninteresting. Oh, please, if you're happy, I'm happy. Actually, I mean,
if Creed's okay with it, I'm gonna.
All right.
This is more natural for me.
That's a lot better. So I wouldn't say, and frankly, just I guess just by personal disposition, I don't seek conflict, but don't avoid it either. And I wouldn't say that I have it as a goal to keep things on the consent agenda, because I think there are some things that really need to be discussed and things that need to be dug into. But I will say, and something I've talked about quite a bit, is I think when done right, local government should be very operational. I think we should be focused on, public safety, public works. We're lucky enough that if you take care of the basics, which are things like water and sewer, the real job of the government,
transportation,
if transportation, the public works and the roads, if you can do that and still have resources, you can branch out into things like our park system, which we've been lucky enough to develop over a lot of years, and we've got over 1,000 acres in parks. We have a great library, and we've got the resources to put and stand up a fantastic system right there for the library, which is a real crown jewel for the city. But these are very operational things. These are things that we need to be looking at in terms of, funding and staffing and keeping stable. And I think that sometimes people introduce non-operational drama into local government, and I don't think that's really productive at this level. I do understand there's public discussions that need to take place, and some of that might be ideological, but at Brentwood, we need to be operational first. And if we're able to conduct operations effectively on the consent agenda, fantastic.
You've got, now, the city recently received recognition for being the number 35th wealthiest suburb in the U.S.
Oh man, have we fallen? It's a dang.
So, does that present? Do wealthy people have higher expectations than the lower echelon?
Well, that's an interesting thing. It's a little bit, well, and I think being a Cadillac dealer and a Land Rover dealer has been good training, because we do. You have a very, I think, affluent, educated, sophisticated audience, which is great. But you always have to realize that when they're getting a hold of you about something, they might be right. You know, because they're good problem solvers. They didn't get to our community usually just by happenstance. It's a deliberate thing, and they do have high expectations, but that's part of our responsibility. We need to deliver on that, and we need to make sure that we're living up to that. And it is nice because when I talk to some of my counterparts in other communities, whether it's in the automotive community, folks with more mass market brands, or in other municipalities, some of the calls they get, I mean, it really makes me appreciate phone calls where I can have a good discussion with a person and operate at a high level. So that is a great part of the job.
Are we able to show your slides here this morning?
I don't know, are we able to show my slides here? All right, we got thumbs up from Kel. Oh, all right. So I've got a clicker. Oh,
Go.
Charles, all right. I
Let's
should have had that up the whole time, didn't I?
Let's take a few minutes and let you give us a little.
Sure. So we'll run on through these, and we've hit on some of it already. So as a mayor and talking about the operational focus, I'd like to start out with, what does make Brentwood Brentwood? Because I think a lot of times defining your community, and for me that helps me to just remind it. So I try to make sure in most of my communication I hit this at some level. And getting at some of the comments I was making before, operationally, before we do anything else, we need to make sure that Brentwood is safe. So Brentwood being safe, oh, hold on, I guess that's a little bit better. So Brentwood being safe is a big deal. And taking a look at, that's Brentwood Police, Brentwood Fire and Safety. I'm not going to read the whole slide to you, but, just having some baseline stats. We've got a good, well, first of all, with Brentwood Police, we're just about fully staffed. We've got every position filled. And I mentioned that in part because the past 4 years, fully staffing police departments has been more and more challenging. And we're not willing to compromise on quality. So making sure that we're able to have a fully staffed police department is terrific. We keep track of some of our safety scores. One of the ones I'm happiest about, our average response time of a tick over 6 minutes is about half the national average. And we're continuing to work on response time to make sure we're in the right place at the right time. Along the lines, and the fire and safety, you'll see the stat on there, also talking to Chief Collins. The response time there is also right in that same neighborhood. They're a tick under 6 minutes. But of course, if you've had something on fire or a bad accident, seconds are a big deal. And we're really, really happy that with the addition of Fire Station 5, we're able to take about 30% off of our average response time for fire and safety. So that's a really big deal. And then just in terms of, it's not just me up here saying it, we've got a couple of certifications we're super happy about. CALIA, which is the Commission for the, hold on, Dave. Yeah, the Commission for the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies. Thank you, Kristen. And O'Neill's over there like, come on, you got this. But yeah, so we're one of only 5% nationally of departments that are able to actually achieve that certification. So that's a really big deal. Similar with the fire and safety, where we've got the certifications there. So keeping Brentwood safe is a big deal operationally. But also, like I mentioned before, for just Brentwood needs to be beautiful, and Brentwood is beautiful. And our park system is a big part of that, but also, the way we approach development. And it's not something that, that just happened by happenstance. For a long time, Brentwood has been really focused on trying to keep the density down to an average of 1 acre per household. But that doesn't mean each house is on its own individual acre. We've got a whole lot of beautiful developments where you've got a lot of green space that's very evident and that is able to capture a lot of green space up towards the roads. If you take a look at like Raintree Forest is a beautiful example of a neighborhood that's literally built in a forest. And going through and looking for opportunities to do that is a big deal. So making sure we keep Brentwood beautiful. As Karen will tell you, Brentwood is financially stable. And this is a huge thing because we can't do the things we do without keeping the money in line. I use this particular graphic, which is hard to read, but I didn't find out a better solution. Something you'll notice in the pie chart on your left is the local sales tax, a local option sales tax, is almost 50% of our tax revenues. And then if you put that together with property taxes, that is a huge chunk of our finances as a city. Something that is really important to see into that is property tax is both residential and commercial, and the commercial entities pay property tax at a higher rate. So generally speaking, Brentwood is only 5% commercial land, but that 5% of the acreage pays about 2/3 of the bills between sales tax and commercial property tax. So having a really healthy commercial community is huge. I think Karen and certainly Jay and Jason would tell you, we talk about having this be more of a third, a third, a third as a balance, where sales tax, property tax, and other sources are more balanced out so that you're not as exposed if there's a downturn in the economy that takes a chunk out of your sales tax. But I'm happy the economy is good right now and it's a little bit out of balance. The other side on the right, I put up there just because people sometimes are like, especially a couple of years ago, people are like, cities overinvest in law enforcement. And I don't feel like we do. I think this is an important balance. You can see the law enforcement is about a quarter of the budget. Fire and safety is just a tick over 20% of the budget. With those together, and like I said, Brentwood's got to be safe. So that's about half our budget in that. General government, is another big chunk. But for the most part, I feel like we do a good job allocating our resources in a way that really reflect the values of the community and make sure we're delivering the goods. So this is where we get on into, and Dave, I don't know if you want to dig into these some more. We already covered the people, and we kind of nodded towards renewed focus. I think over the past several years, and if you all have been following the news, we had some contention on the city commission about use of resources. And without getting into all that, I think we had
That in a minute.
fair enough. All right, so I won't steal Dave's lead, but we had a big election. We'll probably talk about the incredible turnout that we had for this most recent election. We've got some fresh faces on the commission, and I feel like we've got a renewed commitment to all the things I was just talking about in terms of our focus and our balance. And that we get at the citizen engagement. I mean, having people come out to elections and get involved is amazing. And of course, you can't mention what's going well in Brentwood without mentioning water and sewer. I think they've done an incredible job, and this sounds like one of those topics that is like, why do you even want to talk about that? Well, it's not important until it's really important. And you can talk to some other communities around the region that this is the biggest thing they have going. Well, for Brentwood, we're not going to have to talk about it this morning because it's going really well. I will put on everyone's radar that something we are doing as part of our stormwater management and our system overall. We are adding what they'd call a stormwater mitigation tank or an equalization tank around Tower Park, which helps to further improve the operation of our sewer system during heavy storms and try to make sure from an environmental standpoint that we're continuing to improve it. It's something that's not a critical need, but when it's a critical need, it's too late because these things take years to get up out of the ground. And of course, you can't ever not mention the library. Her library is awesome. So what are we working on? So this I really put together just for Dave's personal use, so we can dig into whatever you'd want. But just putting a nod towards, of course, McEwen. I think all of y'all are familiar with. This is a critical route. East-west connections in Williamson County are tough, and I live on Concord Road, which is tough. So getting McEwen in, love the Phase 4 is in process. It's a huge project. Brentwood is starting in 26 construction. It should be 26, early 27 on the next phase of McEwen, which takes it another 1.3 miles. Thank you for having me look that up. Farther towards Nolensville, and then we have the handoff towards the Nolensville and then Smyrna communities, as well as a route through Williamson County. So I mentioned it as a critical route as well, because even the communities that aren't quite, on deck yet, they need to be setting aside easement for that and for the path for this road, because it is a critical east-west route for us. Also, I mentioned Old Smyrna Road, because that is another critical east-west route, and we have about $10 million in the budget right now for phase 1 of that project.
You're a little ahead of me, so
okay.
Let's dig into these
all right.
transportation projects a little deeper.
Very good.
Here in a minute.
You started. You told me to use the slides.
Well, and then I kind of want to get back in the middle of it
All
again.
right, get in there, Dave.
But McEwen, a lot of people I don't think realize it actually ends up in Brentwood at some point, or right on the edge of Brentwood.
Does it right along Brentwood Franklin, and to be absolutely fair, this is a partnership with Franklin, so it's 60% Brentwood, 40% Franklin. We're trying to make sure we're doing our share of the lifting, but we could not do it without the city of Franklin. It is a very collaborative effort.
So I got my little Google Maps out with uh, you know, trying to look at the path of this road, and I can't figure out where it's actually going to go.
Okay.
I can see where it's going, but I can't see what it's connecting to once it gets out there. Are you familiar enough with it to?
Sorta. And what I'll tell you is, like, when we were on the regional transportation call the other day, Derek Baskin and Sarah Catherine Toddy and some of our engineers threw up one of the graphics, and they've got a firm route to the Brentwood city limit, and that part is under engineering. When it hits Nolensville and on into the unincorporated county, they've got some proposed road beds.
Yep.
And I think they have one that I think they had consensus on it a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure if it was enough consensus to actually be firm, because I've seen a couple different graphics that show it in a couple different spots.
So it looks like it's headed toward Clovercroft Road there, probably halfway to Nolensville, but
Yeah.
but then there's a big gap between the city limits of Franklin and Brentwood, and where it could connect there. So I was just curious
Yeah.
about that.
And I think there's some conversation on whether or not Clovercroft gets integrated into that road or if it remains a separate road, for parallel for a portion. And I'm not 100%, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm not sure if anyone's 100% sure yet.
I mean, it's badly needed because there's an awfully lot of people that work in Cool Springs coming from Smyrna and Laverne, areas like that. So that's, and y'all experience some of that traffic on Split Log Road and all
Yeah.
through there.
Well, there's a number of different roads that we are working on Split Log and Ragsdale and different road projects trying to alleviate that. But like I mentioned, east-west connectors are a huge deal. And this is not any one municipality. This is something we need to be working on as a region. And we need to be thinking about not just the money, but the land and the easements and the people. And, Dave, how much people love change, by which I mean people hate change. And so
Yeah, if it's
when you do something like this,
in my backyard,
yeah, right. So, but in the absence of this, if we don't work on the east-west connectors, we just throw more people on Concord Road, we throw more people on 840 coming up 65, and that's only going to take you so far.
Right. Well, your city is spending, well, according to the capital improvements budget, almost $16 million on McEwen over the next 5 years, and about $113 million on Split Log, Ragsdale, Sunset Road, those areas back in there.
Have you figured that out per mile yet?
I tried and I couldn't.
It's breathtaking.
Well, the Ragsdale part's like 20 million a mile, and when I saw that, I said, I'm driving out there. I got to see this.
Right.
But if you drive out there, you'll understand why, because they're cutting through mountains and doing a 3-lane road with sidewalks and concrete walls holding up the mountain. And
yeah, I feel like we built all the easy roads a couple decades ago.
Yeah. So once y'all get that done, which it's under construction and moving along, looks like fairly quickly, but the east-west there will be, I would assume, lots easier. Now, Old Smyrna Road is another story.
Oh, yeah.
I told Nelson a couple of days ago when we were talking about this, probably been 35 years since I was on Old Smyrna Road. I'd forgotten how narrow it is, but it is a treasure, historic treasure, really, because you've got the canopy that covers it. And the only problem is, as you mentioned, the lanes are about 7.5 feet wide. And
yeah, maybe. I think that's a wide spot.
And you mentioned many of your friends have had their mirrors taken off going through there. Tell us how y'all are addressing that. I think it's very creative.
Yeah, no, an Old Smyrna Road, I mean, it really is a treasure in Brentwood. And how many of y'all have been down it? I guess sure. Yeah, so a lot of y'all. So you know what we're talking about. It's a beautiful road. People envision it as like, like for me, it's like the last of the roads I grew up on. I mean, a lot of Brentwood used to be like that, but um, but it's just not sustainable. And it's interesting. It's kind of like McEwen, where or the analogy is it's like the music business, where you work 20 years to be an overnight success. People are going to feel like all of a sudden we're changing Old Smyrna Road rapidly, but this has been in process for like 20 years in terms of people talking about how sustainable is it, how do we make it safe, and it's gotten to the point that the road is literally starting to fall off into the drainage ditches. I mean, it started out unsafe and it's getting irresponsible. But it's also, if you really get down Old Smyrna Road, it's very easy to think in your mind's eye 10 years ago or the last time you're down it, what you remember. But the reality is it's tough. And so right now we've got a plan in place and we've been just engineering it carefully. I think we have the opportunity to build Old Smyrna Road to actually be the road that people think it is, because we're going to be able to go through and take the existing scenic part of the road, really the historic road. And just like people don't live in our historic mansions, no one lives in Ravenswood, but we're able to preserve it as a venue to be enjoyed by the community. It's in a different role. Well, we're going to be able to take the original road bed for the first mile or so of Old Smyrna Road with the rock walls and the trees and preserve it as a greenway trail that can still be enjoyed by people the way they can still enjoy Ravenswood or Cool Springs House or these kinds of things. And then build an actual safe modern road through easement we've acquired just to the north of that. But in doing this, we're going to be able to add the walking trails, the biking trails, improve stormwater handling. And we even, in our last commission meeting, we're talking about having a landscape budget for it, where generally when we build roads, we don't build landscaping into the road. I mean, you have landscaping around the roads, of course, but we're taking a look and trying to make sure that Old Smyrna Road is a signature part of the image of Brentwood. And I want people to drive it and have the rock walls and have the trees and have the experience that they think they have right now on Old Smyrna Road. But really, Old Smyrna Road, I think the white-knuckled drive down Old Smyrna Road, focusing on the oncoming traffic in your lane, is not what that's not what we're talking about.
It's
And Old Smyrna Road is not what people think it is.
I think that's a very creative solution and sounds like a really good one for that
Well, I'm
situation.
really excited about it. I think this is our opportunity to really do something amazing for the community, and I know change is hard, like I mentioned. I think it'll be really good.
One of my favorite resources when I interview a city leader is just looking at the capital improvements projects, because that's what everybody experiences.
Where the rubber hits the road, isn't it?
For the most part, the police department, fire department, we don't experience their use a whole lot, hopefully. But the roads, utilities, most people, as you mentioned, that's kind of boring, but you're over the next 5 years spending about 51 million on just upgrading your utilities, making sure you got plenty of water and sewer capacity and things like that. I'm going to speed through the rest of this quite a bit because we want to leave some time at the end here. Technology, another 9 million, which I think everybody could use their imagination on what that is, but it's things like the 911 system. And are you doing any artificial intelligence?
All right, so so the technology
1 minute
budget,
answer, not the long answer.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, because we could have a whole session just on tech, and I'd really want our incredible director of technology here, but she's busy right now because she's got a lot going on. But the tech budget is huge, and not the least part of that is security, making sure it's reliable, it's safe, and that because we have a lot of a lot of personal information at the city, and we have a duty of care to secure that. We also have to be able to deliver our services. So a lot of security, a lot of stuff. I've got a background. I mean, my first job out of college was in IT, and I'm still learning an incredible amount from Sarah. She talks about, like, we rolled out something they call virtual switches this past year. I'm still not sure I know 100%, but it's part of the security setup. It's part of the efficiency in having a system that allows us to be durable. If something goes on, I mean, if you have a power line come down, if something breaks part of the network, we still have to be able to deliver public safety. We still need the water to work. So a huge investment in cybersecurity and technical infrastructure.
You've already mentioned some of the storm drainage projects. Parks and Rec, though, is one that a lot of people benefit from and have opinions about.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that's actually made the papers, which is rare for Brentwood, but the issues about the racquetball facility and your decision recently to cancel that. Tell us about that.
So,
And by the way, I thought they were talking about the Maryland Farms Racket Club facility. No, it has nothing to do with that, which
yeah.
I had to figure that out.
So let me go about it this way.
Okay.
So I mentioned Brentwood is financially stable, and part of the way, because we're a small city. I mean, when my family moved here, Brentwood was less than 5,000 people, and one of the geniuses of Mike Walker and the whole team was trying to figure out how do you do a lot with a little, and a lot of the secret sauce is partnerships. You know, it's things where we would say we have a park and recs department, but really we have a parks department. We try to supply facilities that allow citywide service providers to run the programs. So if you take a look, like one of my favorites, I guess, obviously, my boys had a great time with Brentwood Blaze youth football. But Brentwood does not run youth football. Brentwood runs Crockett Park and provides Crockett Park and lights. And citizens, through private funding and parent volunteers, runs football. It's the same with soccer. It's the same with Brentwood Ball Club and baseball. It's the same with senior services and 50 Forward. We have had a long tradition. I think part of the secret sauce of Brentwood is supplying an environment that allows for partnerships and citywide service providers to efficiently provide the services. And it is great. I mean, these are very expensive programs that a lot of cities run, and I'm not throwing stones at them. That's great if cities choose to take those things on. So this past couple of years, there seemed to be an appetite by some of the commissioners, well, some of the former commissioners, to get Brentwood out of the facility provision business into staffing and running like a full boat indoor racket program. And it's a very big departure for the city. And it turned out to be a very unpopular departure for the city. And so back to that renewed focus, we had a big election, we had a big turnout, and we have returned to our focus of providing parks and facilities and not getting into having, full recreational staff.
You had 2 feasibility studies on that facility.
Did.
One of them showed about a $700,000 profit, I think, and the other one showed a loss.
Yeah. We had one study done by citizen volunteers who were very well-meaning and did
Very
their best.
interested in a racquetball facility.
And we had another study done by a professional company that had a duty to be accurate.
And the one that was done by the professional turned out it wasn't going to be a moneymaker.
Well, the one done by the professionals turned out to be pretty in line with some folks with a background in business.
Smith Park is a beautiful park.
Hey, thank you.
And drove through that this week. Got, I think, another little less than $1 million allocated to continued improvements there over the next few years. But it's already a beautiful park. The Ravenswood Mansion is stunning.
Hey, thank you.
I'd actually never laid eyes on it until this week.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But you've got, and it's used for, I guess, weddings and other events.
Yeah, it's a very popular venue, and weddings in particular are just incredible out there. I think our team does a fantastic job. I mean, Charles and the group that run that do a fabulous job of both preserving it as a historical asset Deanna, I think you kind of pioneered a lot of that program. I appreciate you being here. One of our alumni from the city of Brentwood, but it's it's a lot of fun. And then Windy Hill, one of the gaps that came up in our planning process was that we didn't have a park on the northeast side of the city.
Okay.
So Windy Hill is on Old Smyrna Road, north of Crockett Park, east of 65. And so we're able to work with the Sensing family and get about 40-acre park that we're adding to the system in there, which is another piece of that increase in the CIP for Parks and Rec.
That's a pretty significant part of it, and I didn't know where that was. Thanks for bringing that up. Prim Park, you're doing some improvements there. Tell us about the Prim property, and then we're going to take a break for and the Veterans Memorial.
Yeah. So I mean, the Prim property, it's a neighborhood, but we're able to save the historic Prim house. It's actually privately owned, but of course you've got Boiling Springs right across the street, which is part of our park and trail system. So I think that whole thing turned out to be a great example. And the Prim property predates me on the commission. But I want to compliment the commissioners that were on the commission at the time, figuring out how you could honor the private property rights of the folks that owned all that, as they wanted to develop part of it into a neighborhood. But they're able to work out something where they're able to keep the historic home, the historic barn, keep them under private ownership, but still have them, part of the historic, scenery of Brentwood. Then also add sidewalks to Moore's Lane and do some other things with it. So a great example of collaborative problem solving.
Now, to your bikeways and walking trail, can you get from one end of Brentwood to the other now?
It depends what part of Brentwood. So when I was running for the commission the first time, it was funny. One of the questions I got as a candidate was, describe the most pedestrian-friendly place you've ever lived and describe the least. And the most pedestrian-friendly place I've ever lived is where I live right now on the east side of Brentwood near Crockett Park. And we can get from our house through Crockett Park to the library, to the Y, to the Martin Center, to Ravenwood High School, to Smith Park without ever stepping on a public road. The least bike pedestrian place I've ever lived, least friendly, was when I lived on the west side of Brentwood, in Brentwood Hills. And we had narrow streets and drainage ditches and no sidewalks at that point. And trying to go through, because like you mentioned, with our expense of expanding these roads, when you have roads that are built with 8-9 foot lanes and deep drainage ditches on either side and no sidewalks, to add sidewalks, you have to put in underground sewers, storm sewers, and it's a lot of money. So we're looking for ways, and usually the best way is to come in off of the roadbed, but maybe along streams or other waterways, floodplains, to try to build them.
You've got a pretty active leadership Brentwood program, I think.
We do. In fact, we have just recently graduated our best class ever. Yeah, thank you. Got several of them here right now.
And Charles, stand up. You can't do this sitting down. No. And I don't know which role anybody plays here, but Nelson, do you want to introduce them, or do you want to let them introduce themselves?
I don't know. Charles, you want me to introduce y'all?
Trust you.
Maybe.
Please.
So, this is Lynn Tucker and Charles Booth, both with Leadership Brentwood. So Charles is our community relations expert at the city of Brentwood, and is fantastic. And he was also the coordinator for my Leadership Brentwood class this past year, and really the spirit of the class, bringing a great sense of humor and a lot of fun to it as well. And then Lynn Tucker is, among other things, first and foremost, the director of our tree board for the city of Brentwood, her most important of all roles. But Lynn is with the Williamson Inc. and is the director of Leadership Brentwood. So she keeps all that going on. And Lynn, more I should add to that? Okay. So really glad to have him here, and it's a fabulous program. So to introduce y'all, yeah. Why should people sign up for Leadership Brentwood? Oh. Maybe it was not one of my slides. So let's see. Is that it?
One of the is this working? Yes. Okay. We have a very, very active program. As you see, we have 550 alumni. The program started back in 1991, and we're still going strong. And we can't do it, though, with people, volunteers, like, even though he has a day job and works, I know, many, many hours for that day job, he is also our board chair this year and spends countless hours helping us to make that program better every year. And there's a scattering of people in the audience who are also volunteers with our program who are alumni, such as Sheila Cleveland and Kel and Jenna and Gina and Deanna and Kristen and anybody else that I miss, and Claudia back there, and Chris with the EIC. They are all alumni of the program, and we are so appreciative of all the work they do to help us make this a strong program. The only other thing I wanted to point out on here is that we also coordinate Youth Leadership Brentwood, and as of to date, we have awarded $110,000 in scholarships to graduates of our youth leadership program. So we're very, very proud of that. Typically, we're able to give every year 2 $4,000 scholarships to seniors that either go to school within the city limits of Brentwood or live within the city limits of Brentwood. The other thing, and I'd love to have Charles, our Charles friend, talk a little bit about our projects that we do for the community each year.
Yeah, so community service is a big component of Leadership Brentwood. What makes Leadership Brentwood kind of more unique than some of the other programs is if you know the Brentwood community, it's a community of leaders. You know, there's governmental leaders at the local, state, national level. There's, country music industry leaders. There's corporate leaders. So we are a collection of some of the top leaders in the country in our program. And part of that is making Brentwood better than when they started the program. So every class has 3 volunteer projects that they do. We do about 2 million hours of volunteer service over the years. These are recent projects from last year. They did the renovation of a storage space at the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. That's always, we do a lot of work with them because it's always just a great project. You can see it, the tangible results, how it helps the families, the children. They added air hockey tables and storage racks. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is one that we had a grand opening this summer. They really enhanced the amphitheater out there. They cleaned it up at the John P. Holt Brentwood Library. They added some ADA compliant picnic tables, some cornhole. So if you're ever out at the library now that the weather's getting nice, make sure you can enjoy that. And they also do all the fundraising for this. So they raise the money. I forgot how much we've raised over the years. Over $1 million in funds raised. This one is coming up soon. I believe Dave said we're about to start on, this is Mary Andrews' project.
Yeah, so we're doing a mural on the historic airplane hangar at Windy Hill Park. So the Sensing family used to actually fly their family plane in and out of a homemade airfield where the park is now. And so that is actually a mural that will depict the actual Sensing family airplane as if it was parked in the mural or in the hangar that'll go on the side of the hangar. So yeah, so we're supposed to be to the point that we can start the mural hopefully the first week or 2 of October.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So that's exciting. This is a beautiful project. So there's a lot around the city. You might not know that the city didn't fund. These are funded by volunteers that have raised the money. And this year's class, they're coming up with their ideas right now, and they're actually really excited. It's kind of neat to hear what they have in store.
Great. That having volunteers is good, right?
Big deal.
It's cheaper than hiring it done, and sometimes it does a better job maybe. So congratulations on all your work there. Kel McDowell. Come on up front. We found out something yesterday. Kel has been the quarterback of this operation for what? How many years?
Almost 8 years.
And it's run a lot smoother since he started doing the scheduling than back in the day when I was doing the scheduling. And but it just has been so good working with you. But this is his last policy talks as the quarterback. And he has been offered an opportunity, apparently, that was too good to refuse. And we don't know what we're going to do without him. But and I didn't bring flowers. I didn't go to the trophy store and get a plaque or anything. But I'm sure Matt will appropriately honor you. But maybe we can do that in another installation. But tell us as much as you want to about your experience here and where you're going.
Absolutely. You'll hear more about my transition going forward, but I really want to reflect on almost 8 years of really getting to be involved with this program. Policy Talks predates me by a good bit. Dave Crouch has been on board for even longer, and it's been such a privilege to be able to do this, to really come up with fun programs, really intriguing speakers. Thank you so much, Nelson, and all as well, Lynn and Charles, for this morning. To really explore these different facets of the community and the region that might otherwise go less explored. And Dave, you've always been such a fantastic moderator. If you don't mind, I might steal the liberties of the thank yous this morning as well. But we're led by such incredible sponsors and partners for this program. Columbia State, first and foremost, just hosting us. We made the transition to switching the program over here when I came into the role itself. Mary Beth, you've always made it so darn easy. Dr. Hall, thankfully, stepped right in, made it easy, and the recently retired Daryl Lampley was just absolutely fantastic. Columbia State, you've always made it so easy. Bob, I believe you're in here as well. Thank you so much, always, always, always. AT&T of Tennessee has always just been a bedrock supporter. Always appreciate that. Vanderbilt, yep, indeed. Brady, Vanderbilt Medical, y'all stepped on board this year. Really appreciate y'all. I'm still convinced there are 2 Brady cannons running around out there. I'm not sure about that. Terry, Lion Leadership Group, our local McDonald's. It's not just the coffee, but gosh darn it, is that key. But you've always been just so darn cheery, so darn easy. And I can't believe you're able to get, first thing in the morning, and you're just so darn reliable as well. And just thank you for being you and always being communicative on that end as well. Williamson Herald with the coverage, Derby, Kelly, but also Cassie, Macy, and all the alumni as well. Y'all have always just been so fantastic and such a key piece. Community reporting is so darn important. WAKM and Tom Lawrence. Tom, I'm so sorry we didn't get to talk right before this, but gosh darn it. It all happened so quickly, and it's kind of a surprise to me as well. And thank all of you so much. The Williamson Inc. team, they'll hear more from me. We've got time between now in transition, but thank you for letting me milk this for a little bit there, Dave. It's weird to think it's the last one, but it's not the last one I'll ever be at. It's just the last one in this capacity. So thank you so much, Dave, and thank you for just being so instrumental in leading this program for so long.
Well, thank you for doing such a great job. I'm giving you a standing ovation. But he has done an awesome job, and Matt, we appreciate you making him part of this show for so many years, and look forward to seeing where he goes from here and who you're going to find to replace him. But it's been a great run. I wish we had time for questions, but it's time to wrap now. Kel fortunately did a lot of my rap for me and all the thank yous because Creed Henderson and the WCTV program. We've got a team that really comes together and makes this all happen. I always say that Terry Lemke with the Lion Leadership Group bringing the coffee may be the most important piece of the puzzle, but no. And of course, all the media partners just really help get the word out and help us educate people about what's going on in our county. So it's a team effort. Matt Largen, our leader at Williamson Inc., he helps us put it all together, and appreciate your support, Matt. Jenna Parter kind of makes us look good. Some of that PR, and Nancy Conway always keeps me kind of plugged in behind the scenes on some of the things going on around the county. Our next show is going to be on Halloween. I don't know how we're going to celebrate that appropriately, but it's going to be on tourism. We're going to have Commissioner Mark Ezell from the State Department of Tourism, along with Maureen Haley Thornton from Visit Franklin, and it seemed like someone else. That's it. Okay. I was fuzzy on the details there, and it was late last night when I was trying to put this last part together. So, but should be a great show. We've had them on before and learned a lot about how tourism benefits this county. All these people that come in here spend money and then go home, and we don't have to educate their kids. So we will help celebrate that. But thank you all for being here. It's been an educational trip around Brentwood, and we appreciate your guidance on that, Nelson. And y'all are doing a great job up there, and we look forward to seeing it continue.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here, Dave.
Thank you all for being here. We'll conclude. Have a good week.